Believe it or not everyone solves their problems with their fists.
2 girls?
2.
You want to tag along for an exorcism?
Yep.
That's out of the bloody question, love.
Well, we gave you its name, so you owe us.
Well, I gave you your soul, so you owe me indefinitely.
All the more reason for me to help you.
How is Fitz even here?
I don't know. He just showed up out of nowhere with his own spaceship.
It's a baller move. Not to mention the whole bounty hunter look he's rocking.
I still prefer my cardigans.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fandom Zone. I'm Charles Skaggs, and with me today for the Fandom Zone's 3rd anniversary, believe it or not, we've been around 3 years, God help you all, is one of our favorite people here in the Fandom Zone, Phil Perich, from the Capes and Lunatics podcast himself.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Phil. Thanks for, again, for helping us out. Obviously, with Karen being out, unfortunately still because of her losing her mother, and we obviously send our love to her, but thank you again for helping us out. We definitely appreciate it, because I know this podcast means a lot to Karen.
Yeah, I'm always glad to help out. I just wish I was under better circumstances.
Yeah. So hopefully Karen will be back next week, but if not, I'm sure we'll figure out something. But for now, thank you for joining us, and everybody, welcome to episode 133. Yeah, it's been 3 years of the Fandom Zone. Unfortunately, Karen's not here to share it with me, but I'm glad you are, Phil, and make this a little special. And maybe we'll have a special guest popping in from nowhere. Maybe we'll find out, to talk about Krypton. So we'll see.
To come out of his tower.
Yes. He'll descend from the heavens, going, oh. The light will beam down from the sky, and the heavens will rise, and joyous singing, and dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Not Bruce Almighty.
No, it's Jesse Almighty.
That's right.
That's right. So yeah. So maybe we'll hear from Jesse. We'll find out. We'll all find out together, because hey, spontaneity. So in the meantime, what are we going to talk about this week? Well, lots of good stuff this week. We're going to talk about Legends of Tomorrow, episode 15 of the 3rd season, Necromancing the Stone. And then we're going to talk about Black Lightning, the Book of Little Black Lies, episode 9 of the 1st season. And this was a big one as well. So 2 big episodes right off the bat. Then we have Krypton, the very first episode of Krypton on Syfy, the pilot episode. So I'm dying to know your thoughts on that one, Phil. And then lastly, we're going to wrap this up with Gotham, episode 15 of the 4th season, The Sinking Ship, The Grand Applause, which, again, more insanity from Gotham, and lots of bullet holes for James Gordon. So not sure how he's still alive. That may be his superpower, is that he can survive bullet holes after... Well, anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there. But we'll kind of tease that, because that's going to come later. But first, all right, let's talk about Legends of Tomorrow, Necromancing the Stone, written by Grainy Godfrey and directed by Grainy Godfrey and Morgan Faust, directed by April Mullen, and this features the return of Matt Ryan as John Constantine. So another big Constantine episode, and obviously, you with your Newcastle podcast, and me formerly of the Dangerous Habits, the Constantine podcast. Obviously, we're both big Constantine fans, and definitely looking forward to talking about that. So,
and this episode came on the heels of the news. Matt Ryan, if Legends is renewed for a next season, Matt Ryan is going to be a regular as Constantine.
Right. Well, I'm thinking it will be, because for one thing, season 3 brings us up to 51 episodes of Legends. So presumably they want to at least get another 14 to get us to 65 for, hey, syndication money. So
plus I haven't looked at the numbers, but I would bet anything that they've seen a bump in ratings numbers since Matt Ryan, the Matt Ryan episodes.
Those are at least a little bit, do a little better, I think. And Legends has, for the most part, been pretty steady. So it's not the worst performing CW show. So hopefully they'll at least keep around for one more season.
And I'm sure there's people like me. I'm only there for this. I'm only on the CW for all the DC stuff. I mean, if the DC stuff goes away, CW's out of my life. So
right. Because hey, if nothing else, we have the DC Universe, a digital service coming up. So
at some point,
well, supposedly 2018. So we'll probably get more info. I mean, it's only March, and I'm thinking somewhere around September we'll get hopefully the premiere of Titans. But that's a whole different podcast. So anyway, so we won't talk about that just yet. But this episode, Necromancing the Stone. So what did you think about Constantine in this episode? Before we get into some discussion here.
I like this episode. I mean, it seemed like he was more in the mix, more in the going with the flow. I mean, I liked the last episode he was in a lot too, because especially the beginning, it seemed like more like a Constantine episode, from the series.
Daddy Darkus. Yeah, I agree. I think that was more of a that did feel more like a Constantine episode. This one feels more like Constantine and a Legends episode.
Yeah, I'm just curious if he, if they do get a next season, how it's going to work. Are they going to cut back on the time travel as much? Or are we going to get a lot of Constantine traveling through time?
Yeah, and that was one thing I kind of enjoyed in this episode, being a Doctor Who fan. You probably know what I'm talking about, because there was a nice little aside that Constantine did, a little nod to Doctor Who in this episode. And it was this quote, and I had to write this down, where he says he's talking to Ava and Gary, and when Ava and Gary go to look him up, and he tells them there isn't exactly a point by numbers spell for locating a spaceship floating through a temporal stream. My business card says Master of the Dark Arts, not Dr. Willie what's his face.
Yeah.
And then Ava's like, who? And Gary says, who?
Exactly.
Who? And then, so she does the question mark, who, interrogative, who, and Gary's the statement, who. And Constantine says, exactly. So.
Yeah, I'm like a state away from you, and I still heard you go, yes.
Yes, exactly. That reverberated through the cosmos as I was going, yes, squee. So, yeah, that was a big squee moment. And if you're a Constantine fan, there's a really cool Easter egg in this episode. Bailey Tippin, who in the original Constantine pilot episode, Non Est Asylum, she played Astrologue, the character that John Constantine has kind of been his one of his personal demons, that he accidentally let this girl get trapped in hell. To the demon Nergal. Well, Astra makes a vocal cameo in this story, and she's played by, you guessed it, Bailey Tippin. So kudos to the Legends producers for getting the NBC Constantine series Astra to voice Astra here. Just another indication that those two worlds kind of are now linked.
Well, that's what we've said a couple of times on Newcastle Crew, is like, I wonder if, now that he's going to be a season regular on season 4, if we're going to get like some of his supporting cast, like Chaz or
it would be nice, at least for an episode.
At least give us an episode or two to wrap up.
Yeah, because I mean, there was this big dangling plot line with Harold Perrineau's character. I forget his character's name, but he he was revealed to kind of be a kind of an archangel, not very nice angel, and with some nefarious plans, and they kind of left that hanging. So I kind of would like to get that wrapped up. The big looming threat was coming, but it hadn't quite arrived yet. So yeah, that would be kind of nice if they addressed that. So this is also kind of a big Sarah and Ava episode, because Sarah ends up getting taken over by Malice, and controlled, and she kind of looks vaguely Silver Banshee-ish or iZombie-ish, depending on your point of view, which kind of works pretty well because iZombie's after the show.
And we did get that one flash, I guess the little hallucination or whatever of her as Black Canary again.
That was good. Yeah, we got a nice little callback to when she was Black Canary, or was it the Canary back then? Wasn't Laurel the one that made it Black Canary?
I think so.
I can't remember, but it was cool to see her in the old school mask and the black costume again. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. And she still rocks it, by the way, in my opinion. So that was interesting, and she basically goes around confronting various members of the Legends, kind of trying to get into their heads a little bit by bringing up, like, appearing as people they know or possibly some characters from their past that kind of haunt them a little bit. And we got Wally. She confronts Wally in the story, who's like in the med bay, and he gets kind of thrown when he goes to the bridge and finds Jesse Quick there.
Yes.
Now, obviously, if you watch The Flash like we do, you know that Wally and Jesse had kind of a bad breakup because Jesse laid the
breakup cube.
This breakup cube, yeah. So it's probably like the worst thing you could do. It was a really horrible. It was really horrible dumping on Jesse's part to Wally. So obviously there was some animosity there, little, just hurt feelings, and it was kind of a credit to Wally that he seemed to like. Well, I've kind of moved past this. So what did you think about that?
I did like that. I just wonder if maybe one day either on Legends or on Flash, if we'll get some more, if they'll wrap that up a little more, get them in face to face in a room. But
yeah, it would be nice to see Wally and Jesse actually confronting one another in real life. Well, in TV life, actually.
But I mean, since I haven't been able to talk to you about this, and as the number one Flash fan, how do you like Wally on Legends?
I think it works pretty well. I think he's. We kind of talked about this last week when Jesse was here. That Kid Flash seems to be assimilating to the group faster than Zari did.
Mm-hmm.
For Zari, it took quite a while. It took until I think that solo episode where she's having to fend by herself and she gets stuck in that time loop. I really wasn't feeling that character until that episode. Yeah, and now she's kind of like, okay, and the others seem kind of to accept her more since then. Mm-hmm. So I think that went a long way. But Wally seems to be like, he's only had a couple of interactions with them previously, and he seems to be maybe it's just because of this new Zen attitude that he's got.
And I just wonder if he's going to take Jax's place as, like, quote unquote chief engineer.
Yeah, I don't know because he fixes cars, but so did Jax. So who knows? Now I do know that Franz Drame, who played Jax, is supposed to be back in the season finale. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how that's going to work unless Jax stays on as a powerless mechanic engineer.
Maybe,
I don't know. Unless he's just in for an episode and then we never see him again. But who knows? So I guess that death totem that Ray had his little lockbox. Surprise, the lockbox means nothing. They get a hold of the death totem. And then Mick ends up getting this fire totem and kind of gets a little power boost in this episode, which I thought he becomes like almost super heat wave because he gets a little power boost, which I thought was kind of cool. And what else we have in this episode? We had Nate confronting his dead grandfather, getting a vision of his dead grandfather, the Commander Steel from the original Steel, from the Justice Society.
Nice callback to last season.
Yeah, it was, and they brought the original actor back, which was good. I like that. And we had Mick putting on that fire totem finally, and then Ava ends up confronting Sarah after she gets knocked out. Tries to speak with her lifeless body in an attempt to bring the real Sarah back from Malice's realm. And meanwhile, Sarah is, I guess, in that realm, confronted by Nora Dark.
Mm-hmm.
And who's making her this offer. I guess Nora's making an offer to help her. And her and her father, I guess. And then she ends up returning her to her body. So she ends up back in her body. So she comes to, really awkward moment, obviously, where she confronts the rest of the team, and she's done some thinking since then. She was, wanting to. She was originally started off this episode calling Ava her girlfriend. And Ava's just like, oh, you call me your girlfriend. And then here at the end, she ends up breaking things off with Ava. So she tells Ava that she doesn't want to be in a relationship, presumably to protect her.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's going to go over too well. And it certainly isn't in Ava's case.
I was saying before, I think they're trying. I don't know if they're trying to play Sarah like a female Oliver Queen. It's just like, I have too much blood on my hands,
right.
And I've had to become someone else, something else. I can't be with you.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that Oliver and Sarah kind of got hooked up, is they seem very similar in a lot of ways. And part of me is still has this little pet theory that something's going to happen. And maybe eventually Sarah becomes the Black Canary, the full-fledged Black Canary.
Maybe. Or do you think they're going to redeem that Earth 2 Laurel? Maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. I still think that if they do, they kill her off. Something will happen.
Maybe.
Like they'll maybe try to make you think, that, at least for a brief while, that she's going to be redeemed, and then, boom, they kill her off. And at the end of the series, somehow, that Sarah becomes... I don't know. Maybe takes the identity of Dinah Drake.
Or hey, Constantine salvaged one.
That's true.
One Lance daughter's soul. Maybe they take Earth 1 Laurel's soul and put it in the Earth 2 Laurel. I don't know.
That could also happen. I will give you that. That's definitely a possibility because hey, we did it once, brought one back, can certainly bring another back. So we'll see. But anything else about this episode that you liked?
No, like I said, I just love, getting more and more Matt Ryan as Constantine again. Wally's good on the team. I was worried about that.
What do you think of Wally with the Legends?
I like it. I wonder why he's not on the Flash, but I like him here on Legends. With his powers and everything, he kind of works better in the sci-fi atmosphere than if they bring someone over from like Arrow or something.
Yeah. Oh, I think he brings more to the table, definitely.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of nice to see him have his own thing as opposed to just being the backup speedster.
Yes.
So, and the Flash had that kind of problem. There were too many speedsters around, which is why they had to kind of thin the herd a little bit and bring them in for just certain episodes.
Especially this season with where we actually got a big bad that's not a speedster.
Right. Exactly. So that was So I'm kind of like with Constantine. My only concern is that they're going to kind of water down Constantine and kind of make him a little jokier.
Yeah,
which I
maybe.
don't want to see, but I'm kind of concerned that they're going to be writers that just want to play him as wacky magician, as opposed to being faithful to the character. Because it is dropping him in a very unusual element with this show.
Mm-hmm. I am worried about that too. But have you seen the Constantine animated series on the CWC?
I have not. I've been trying to find time this weekend to watch the first episode, but
okay.
I did talk to Matt Ryan about it when I met him at Wizard World Cleveland, and so I know that it's based off of probably loosely, but off of the Hellblazer graphic novel All His Engines.
It seems like it's loosely based. It's pretty good, and it's only 5 episodes. They're 6 minutes apiece. So
right. Just kind of with Vixen and the Ray and
if you have a free half hour, you can watch the whole thing. Yeah,
right. Oh, are they all up at once? Okay, I thought it was weekly. Maybe I'm
No, I watched all 5
okay,
today.
so you can
came out yesterday. Yeah,
all right, good. You can just binge right through them then. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm definitely want to do that, and hopefully they'll have a video release of that.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah,
Yeah, that would be nice. All right, cool. So now you've listened to the show once or twice. You know our drill here. So do you have a rating for this episode?
I think I would have to give this. I'll probably give it 4.5 out of 5 death totems.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna go a little. I was gonna go death totems, but I think what I'll do is 8.5 out of 10 fire totems.
All right, it is out of 10. I'm thinking 5. Sorry.
That's okay. No worries. It's not like you don't have 1 or 2 other podcasts on your brain. So
yeah, I know. I mean, I could probably go 9 out of 10 death totems.
Oh, you really like this episode.
I mean, and for Legends, sometimes I've been like, I don't know, I'm just like, I could take it or leave it. But yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely doing better this season, especially with the Constantine stuff.
Well, I think now they've found their voice.
Yes.
In the show, and just they've realized that they're just the wacky, fun sci-fi superhero show.
And I think all the new voices helps too. I mean, between Zari and Wally and now Constantine, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely seems to help that they change the roster, at least adding 1 or 2 people a season.
Mm-hmm.
And it does kind of keep the dynamic fresh. They kind of rotate some people in and out.
Yeah, because that's what we were talking about on our podcast. It's like, I think there's only like 3 people left in the first season. It's Sarah, Mick, and Ray. That's it.
Yeah, pretty much. Unless you count Gideon, but yeah.
Gideon, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. So it's definitely kind of changed things up. The dynamic has definitely shifted. All right, so let's move on. Black Lightning, episode 9 of the first season, The Book of Little Black Lies. Written by Kelly Goff, directed by Tanya McKiernan. And let's see here. So this is a big Thunder episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is huge. And this is hot on the heels of Jennifer Pierce finding out in the previous episode that she now has superpowers. Presumably, hopefully leading up to her becoming Lightning, as she is in the comics. But here, she's not really eager for that life. So I want to get your thoughts on what you thought of the fallout from Jennifer's big power revelation and Anissa stepping up to the plate here.
With Jennifer, I mean, I don't know if it's. I'm sure finding out she has powers freaked her out, but I think it's just the. Also, a big part of it is, finding out her parents and her sister didn't know until recently, but her parents have lied to her whole life, or at least haven't discussed with her the truth. It's like, hey, yeah, you could have this genetic time bomb,
Yeah, you would think. And one of the things I thought was really interesting about Jennifer, and they kind of contrasted the two sisters because they're both reacting to it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Anissa is just like, this is awesome. I get to kind of step up and be a crusader just like my dad, Black Lightning.
And I can use it to help more people. Yeah, and Jennifer's just like...
Jennifer's just like, I don't know about this. I just want a normal life. And a really touching moment was when she was talking with Lynn, and she's like, look, can I have babies? I don't know if I can have babies.
Mm-hmm.
And which is kind of heartbreaking because because she's, a metahuman,
mm-hmm.
How does that affect her DNA, and what kind of side effects might she have as a result? Now, I'm presuming that maybe Lynn, being the scientist, is going to help her kind of study her a little bit and kind of try to figure out these things a little bit.
I think they're using both daughters maybe as like a comparison and contrast to Jefferson, because he's been the superhero, he's been the regular guy, and both daughters are kind of both, because Anissa's like, she's full out to be a superhero, and Jennifer's kind of like, I don't think I want this life, but she's going to step up to the plate eventually. But
yeah, I'm hoping that maybe eventually she's going to change her mind.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if her sister gets hurt and she needs to step up to the plate.
I just wonder if we're going to get that this season, because
I don't know. I didn't think they were going to give Jennifer her lightning powers this season because they were so focused on Anissa. And here they are, like, it's episode 9, and she's just, like,
Like you were saying last episode, I think maybe they weren't sure they were going to get a second season, which I'm sure now they probably will. But before they're probably like, let's
the ratings were really steady for Black Lightning, and it was interesting because The Flash was a repeat this past week.
Yes,
and Black Lightning still held its audience without The Flash as a strong lead-in. Because The Flash only had like a 0.2 in the 18 to 49 demo. Black Lightning constant 0.5s across the board, pretty much. And so it's pretty solid performer. And so maybe the CW will show a little faith and get that show a renewal. I'll be surprised if it doesn't get picked up, really.
Plus, I mean, isn't CW expanding? Aren't they talking about expanding their programming into like 6 days a week now or something?
To Sunday. So, they're going to fill some. Now, they've obviously got some pilots they've been working on, but probably, more toward the, like the typical CW crowd, which means we won't care about them at all.
Exactly.
But
I mean,
they don't have room for 5 superhero shows as opposed to 4.
That's what I was going to say. They have 5 DC shows. They could do like one every night, Well, 5 days a week.
Well, 6 if you count iZombie.
True, yeah.
So, they could have room. So, granted, iZombie isn't your typical superhero show, but it is a DC Vertigo series. I kind of wonder with Jennifer if, Lynn's going to kind of study her while we've got Anissa off being essentially the Robin to Black Lightning's Batman.
Especially since she got her costume this episode.
Yeah, so she got her costume upgrade. Now her previous costume was a nod to the comics version from her first appearance. Mm-hmm. But this is her full, Peter Gamby approved costume. Her official costume, which I like for the most part, except for the goggles.
Yeah.
Because the goggles have that big nose piece, that nose bridge, and it kind of obstructs part of her vision, which I don't think would be a great idea if you're a superhero.
I wonder if that's like some kind of aesthetic where I don't know if they're having trouble keeping the mask on and it's just like pinching the nose. I don't know
what the deal is, but hopefully they kind of modify the goggles next season.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool, and they gave Jefferson and Anissa this cool slow-mo walk as the building explodes behind them. So she got this was the full big spotlight episode. So what do you think about Anissa as Thunder so far?
I like her. I mean, I like the whole story about, the younger hero discovering her powers and, coming into her own, which you kind of knew we were going to get on the CW. They weren't going to go with an older hero the whole time,
Right. Well, that was the one thing that, they brought in an older hero, but they definitely did hint at that kind of that generational aspect to this series, which makes it a little different than the other CW shows. And I think it works really well because the Pierce family has this strong bond. And they actually get along, and they seem to like each other more than the Queen family does, for the most part. And their daughters respect, their dad and their mom. So even though they have butt heads more with Lynn, but they do generally get along. Now there was a little friction here in this episode because Jefferson and Jennifer felt a little betrayed that Jefferson and Lynn hadn't shared her secret like you were talking about. But by the end of the episode, Jefferson comes around and he's trying to just say, "Hey, look, I was just trying to protect you." And they kind of start to get back together. They sit down and watch The Princess and the Frog together and have their little daddy-daughter moment. So to make you go, "Aw," right before the episode. So what do you think about Gamby this season? Now Gamby's we've had some revelations about Gamby that he was working for the ASA.
I do like all of that just because, like, before that, I was like, wait a minute, why does this tailor have, like, all this high-tech equipment and, like, this, like, underground bat cave and all this? But, I mean, that makes more sense. I like that.
Because he's essentially like the Alfred to Black Lightning's Batman. But I like that they're finally developing his character here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder where they're going to take that. And, I guess I'm sure they're probably going to cut, him and Black Lightning are going to come back together by the end here.
Yeah, I'm sure. But right now they just have to get this through this rough patch, I think, about like, well, hey, you didn't tell me about that you were up to this.
And I wondered what they were thinking, when they used the name Gamby, because of what that name was, who that was in the comics.
Yeah. Now there was, this in the comics. I think we've talked about this here, but maybe not. This. Peter Gamby is related in the comics to Paul Gamby. And Paul Gamby, if you're a Flash fan, especially an old school Flash fan like myself and you, Phil, you know that Paul Gamby is the tailor for Central City's Rogues Gallery. So he's the one who designed their costumes, at least before Crisis. And so it'd be kind of nice if they actually introduced Paul Gamby in... on the Flash TV show and kind of linked, that would be kind of like a nebulous link between the Flash and Black Lightning.
Like he's like Earth One double.
Yeah, something. There's some weird thing going on that these two are connected somehow, which I think would be kind of interesting.
But speaking of that, would you want Black Lightning to be brought into this Arrowverse eventually, or should it be on its own?
I would like to see. If they're going to do it, I want to see Green Arrow brought on Black Lightning show rather than Black Lightning brought on Arrow show.
Okay. What if they just added Black Lightning?
You mean like a crossover?
That, or maybe when they do the yearly crossover, they add Black Lightning to the mix of everybody.
Well, that's possible. And now they did drop a couple interesting Easter eggs in this episode, where they mentioned that some active superheroes in this world, whichever Earth this is, are Vixen and Supergirl. So, is Black Lightning set on Supergirl's Earth?
I don't know.
Or is there just another Supergirl?
Because there was even one episode a couple episodes ago where there was like a picture of like a family picture on Jefferson's desk at school, and he's wearing a Superman shirt.
Right.
So, yeah.
So if he was on Earth 38... And maybe that would be a great way to explain why he doesn't interact with the Flash or Green Arrow or the Legends. But still, maybe there could be a Supergirl crossover. So maybe we'll have maybe Supergirl will cross over first, since they established that there's at least one Supergirl in this continuity.
Yes.
So it would be kind of cool to have Superman and Black Lightning together, because Black Lightning started out as the character from Metropolis's Suicide Slum. So that'd be kind of cool.
Or, I mean, we'll never see him, but if they made some kind of Black Lightning Batman connection too.
Yeah, that would be cool too. Yeah, who knows? Maybe there's a Batman on this Earth.
Oh no, to be another like email situation. I was thinking about restarting the Outsiders, and it's just like, okay, whatever.
Well, they've been teasing the Outsiders. Because we know Thunder's in the Outsiders. They've had introduced Grace. So I'm hoping at some point we'll get the Outsiders. Maybe season 2 would be good.
Yes.
I don't think season 1, but maybe season 2. But that would be a good thing to pull. Because by then you'll have maybe a couple more heroes. I like to see them bring in Metamorpho.
Yeah, I just wonder about the budget on the CGI budget on that.
Yeah, unless you show him as human, and then he's like maybe CGI's his arm or something when he's doing something. Or because like they do with like characters like the Mist on the Flash, where he can disappear or turn into gas or whatever. I think it could be done, but they probably wouldn't leave him all the time unless he was just completely made up.
Oh yeah, I don't know how that would look though.
Yeah, well, I don't know either. So yeah, it'd be interesting though. But I would like to see Metamorpho. I think he would be a good member of the Outsiders.
Yes.
If and when they do that. All right. Let's see what else about this episode. Let's see. So, this guy named Proctor, Martin Proctor, I guess he was, trying to make this gun deal. And we had Jefferson and Nyssa tracking him down. And I guess they track him to a warehouse where they're mass-producing green light, this drug that's been going on. And Nyssa takes out Proctor's henchman. Jefferson goes down there. He confronts Proctor.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden the power cuts out. Proctor gets away. And then Henderson shows up, arrests the chemist, producing green light. So hopefully that puts a little dent in the green light situation for a little bit. And I guess they torch the place and then walk out all cool slow-mo. And that's pretty much our episode. So anything else about this episode you want to talk about?
No, I want to see how the season ends because we only have another month left, maybe.
Yeah, we got about 4 episodes more. So,
yeah, because.
So what do you think about Black Lightning so far?
When the series started, I was a little nervous because I thought it was a little slow, but I guess they were probably just world building. I liked it; it's picked up, and I like the pacing and then the story and everything now.
Right. Yeah, I just like the fact that it seems like it's more real than,
yes.
say, the Arrow TV series by far.
Yeah.
Arrow was kind of put to shame by a lot, like the Netflix series and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
This goes another step to say, hey, look, even the CW shows are making Arrow look bad by comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So this is definitely a step up for CW shows, especially CW superhero shows, in my opinion. So hopefully we get more shows like this. All right. Do you have a rating for this episode?
Yeah, I'll give this one. I'll probably give this one another 9. Beds lifted over your head.
Yeah. We're in sync on this one. I like this one. I gave this one a 9 as well. I gave it 9 Black Mamba venom injectors. Because Black Mamba.
Yes.
Like, I should have been called Black Mamba. if you're a Kill Bill fan, you caught that reference.
Yes.
But yeah, that was kind of cool that Gamby gets a hold of this guy and he's like injects him. I thought it would have been funny if he would just said, "Nope, I'm totally bluffing" after he talks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, you're gonna be fine. I was just scamming you, dude. I didn't really do that, but apparently he did. All right, so let's move on now. And I don't see any signs of a Mr. Jackson. He hasn't. It shows he's online, but he hasn't quite emailed me, or instant messaged me. So I don't know if he wants in or not on this action.
I mean, unless you message him and we do Gotham first.
Yeah, I can drop him a line, but then we can head into this a little bit. Let's see here. I know we're not to take everybody's time because, hey, we're kind of recording at the moment, but so we'll see.
Rob, cut here.
Yeah, exactly. Rob, cut here. Or just we'll put a little please stand by. Do 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 do. Yeah, we'll play the Jeopardy theme.
Yes.
And I say, hey Jesse, we're about to talk Krypton. You want to talk or what? So, all right, and send. Okay. So we'll do that. And we'll see if Jesse Jackson makes an appearance. If not, no big deal. I think we got it covered anyway. So, all right. So, Krypton, the pilot episode, written by David S. Goyer and Ian Goldberg, directed by Colm McCarthy, and I think there was a second director, but I forgot to write that one down. Let's see here. So, David S. Goyer, of course, wrote the Man of Steel script. And this show seems to be tied in with the Man of Steel continuity, interestingly enough.
Yeah, like the style of with
the little the fortress key.
Yes.
And stuff like that. So yeah,
just the whole aesthetic seems like their Krypton. Yeah.
Right. So which I think is cool because I did like the Krypton in Man of Steel. I thought it was really interesting.
And I mean, but when they first announced this show, it was closer. It was like only, a year or two after Man of Steel came out.
Yeah.
So we've been waiting for this. I mean, they announced this when Gotham first started. That was like 5 years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting. So obviously, the debut of the series, long awaited. Now, before we get into things, what did you think about this episode?
I mean, I liked it as coming from the approach of like a futuristic sci-fi show.
Right.
But as a DC show, I was like, I don't know if I got enough DC here. I mean, except for some S symbols and like a red, him holding the red cape.
And Adam Strange.
The like couple short appearances of Adam Strange. Besides that, I mean, I'm willing to give it a shot. Like I said, it was a good futuristic show, but as a DC show, I was like, it doesn't seem like a DC.
I know that there are some definite DC characters coming up.
Yeah,
we're obviously getting Brainiac.
Yes, we saw him,
but we're also supposed to be getting Doomsday.
And
we're going to get Hawkgirl.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely, and probably some others, but those are the ones they've teased so far.
Well, that's weird, because I was like, why did they, if it's time travel, why are they using Adam Strange and not Rip Hunter? But I was like, maybe that's because the CW used Rip Hunter, but they used Hawkgirl to a certain point, too.
Yeah, but remember, Hawkgirl's not in the show anymore.
True,
but
true.
Rip Hunter is.
Well, off and on. He's
regular.
Huh?
So maybe Hawkgirl's available again?
Maybe.
And I'm sure we'll get a different one than what was on the CW series. I was kind of wondering that, because Rip Hunter, I would think, would make a much better character for this, especially this whole time travel stuff. Even Booster Gold, but I know that they've been trying to get a Booster Gold series going, or a movie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They keep talking about doing something with Booster. Yeah.
So Booster might be off limits as well. So maybe they figure, well, Adam Strange, he's kind of that kind of a character. Maybe he can. I mean, yeah, he's normally a space hero.
Yeah, Zeta Beam.
Zeta Beam. Yeah, exactly. Who's essentially kind of like Flash Gordon a little bit of the DC universe. But here they have him doing the time traveling. So we'll see where that goes. And so we start off, we essentially see we get a little backstory. It's being narrated by Cameron Cuff's character, Skaggs, who in the comics was Sieg-El, as a nod to Superman co-creator Jerry Siegel. They called him Sieg-El, although it was spelled Seyg. So now they could have just called him. Now it's spelled here Seg. They could have just called him Sieg here as well, but I'm thinking they thought Seg probably sounded a little cooler than Sieg. So they call him Skaggs here, and he's doing the backstory that, hey, even though we got blown up, we still have a story, and and here's that story. So.
The whole name thing you could probably like explain away as like most of the planet Krypton has a British accent.
Yeah. Well, a lot of Kryptonians in the original Superman movie had British accents.
Yes.
So that's nothing new. Even in the Krypton movie, the Man of Steel movie, Russell Crowe's Jor-El had a little bit of a British accent to him. That kind of proper, posh accent. Then here, so, it's kind of like Star Wars, like half of Star Wars is British because all the bad guys are British.
Half of Hollywood now is British, yeah.
Exactly. So, because, hey, they have better actors than we do, but for the most part. The Brits are taking over. Just look at Walking Dead, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They've pretty much all taken over that show. So here we see Skaggs' grandfather, Val-El, escorted out beyond this protective dome surrounding the city of Kandor. And now remember, they don't have a Fandom Zone here yet in this continuity because, hey, Jor-El hasn't been born to invent it yet. So we won't have a Fandom Zone. So what they apparently do is kind of exile their prisoners out to this wasteland beyond Kandor's protective dome, and they kind of send him off this bridge to nowhere, and he goes, ah! So I'm kind of wondering, we don't see a body, though. So who knows, maybe he survived.
Well, it depends how far down it is. I mean, if you survive, you might.
It looked like it was pretty far. It looked like this big chasm. So
I mean, if you survive, you're out there in the wilderness with like a broken leg or something.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I wouldn't totally count him out yet, unless we just see him through flashbacks or something. we kind of jump ahead 14 years, where we had, well, actually, I take that back. We had, during that whole trial of Val-El, the El family is stripped of their rank because of Val-El's being found guilty of sedition. And so as punishment, they apparently decide to punish the whole family and strip them of their rank. So what they're considered in this continuity is rankless.
Strip them of their rank. They're like the only ones who wore capes. They took their capes.
Yeah. Well, they took their S shields, so yeah, we don't get to see
yes.
it. But so essentially now they've made them these outcast pariahs from their normal, because Krypton, we find out, is a caste system where we have various guilds. The Science Guild, which I believe Val-El was part of, and probably Jor-El and Kal-El eventually. Well, Kal-El not really, but Jor-El will be eventually. And then we have like the Lawmakers Guild, and where we have, I think, the big bad of the at least the kind of Lex Luthor of this series, who's a character named Darren Vex. And because Vex, Lex, get it? And he's essentially hooked up. Basically, Darren Vex has kind of like put his cards in with this what's called the Voice of Ra, who is this mysterious religious icon that doesn't speak and has like a mask showing 3 faces. So they're kind of playing up that that essentially these religious fundamentalists, extremists, whatever you want to call them, have taken over Kryptonian society. And now we're going to have Seg, and presumably hooking up with some others, to kind of resist against this new world order, essentially. So what do you think about that, being this kind of theocracy battle?
I mean, it's very interesting, and probably not, but the whole voice of Krypton, the voice of Ra with the whole mask and everything. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure probably isn't a face we've seen before, but I wonder if it's a character we would recognize.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm kind of wondering what's behind the mask and why there is a mask.
One of the Zods, perhaps?
Maybe, but I don't think General Zod has been born yet. So.
No, but one of his ancestors.
Yeah, because we do. Now we do have a couple of Zods in this. We have Jaina Zod, who used to be named a character named Allura Zod, but I guess they changed it to stop the confusion with Supergirl's mom, so they changed it to Jaina. So now we have confusion with a Wonder Twin. Go figure. And she's essentially this really badass lead of the military guild. And she is hardcore, this character. They show a training session where she calls out her daughter, Lyta Zod, excuse me, the way they pronounce it here, Lyta. And so she goes down. Jaina pins her in a series of moves and forces her to say mercy. And Lyta says, okay, mercy. And we have Jaina replying that, well, Zods don't say mercy. And then stabs her through the hand with a knife, her own daughter. So, yeah, I'll bet Mother's Day is a little awkward on Krypton. Just a little bit. So, what did you think of those two characters?
Like you said, yeah, it's really interesting, that whole family dynamic. And it seems like, I don't know, just like all the families, it seems like they're going towards like that John Byrne, cold, very cold scientific future for Krypton, where, the children aren't even produced naturally. It's the whole.
Yeah, they did make a point of showing these pods, this Genesis chamber, I think they called it, where the babies, they're essentially grown in these chambers, as opposed to just having natural gestation in a woman. And they made a comment that, well, hey, can you believe we used to actually do this physically?
Yes.
and stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure John Byrne's World of Krypton series, which I just reread in preparation for this series, definitely comes into play. And yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't think they're going to follow strict Byrne's continuity, but I'm sure they're borrowing elements from it.
But we did. I mean, we did kind of have a sex scene in this later, which had me thinking. Okay, so are the Kryptonians sterile? Are they incapable of having children that way, or is it outlawed?
I just think it's maybe become out of fashion.
Okay,
like maybe we've got this technology, so now like why should we ruin our bodies? Probably the women are thinking like, why ruin my body with a birth when we have this technology to just grow it for us. Maybe maybe they figure this is the way, because if they do this way, maybe that's how they can manipulate DNA or whatnot, which is something that we've been talking about here already on Earth.
Well, I think they're kind of foretelling Krypton's doom already, because it's like, where they the minute you add your genetic material in that pod, it's like, oh, your child will live to be so many years, this old, they'll be this. I'm thinking, I think the Kryptonians think they can plan for anything and everything, but...
Yeah, that was a really interesting scene where Seg, who was pledged to Darren Vex's daughter, Nyssa, they essentially go to the Genesis chamber, and the whatever... computer there spits out like, okay, this is what your kid's going to be like. He's going to be named this. He's going to look like this, and he's going to be like a lawmaker or whatever. And
they even say he'll live like 176 cycle or something.
Yeah, because apparently the Kryptonians are long lived. So, which is why they talk about at the beginning that this is like a couple of 100 years before Krypton's explosion. So, yeah, presumably that they're very long lived, and with obviously they've got ability to genetically modify, or replace injured body parts, what have you.
But yeah, I think it all spells out the Kryptonians think they can plan for everything, and then the day's going to come where they can't, and the planet's going to blow up.
I think especially like what we know from Superman lore is that Jor-El has to convince everybody like, hey, the planet's going to explode, and they're just like, no, it's not. Screw your climate change, whatever. That's not real. That's not going to happen. And sure enough, boom. And so we'll see. But yeah,
climate change isn't real. Let me build my dome around Kandor.
Yeah, this is like extreme climate change. The planet blows up. Yeah. So Seg, as we find out, is essentially getting by. With bar fights and making bets and whatnot to like, if he can last long enough in a bar fight, he gets paid X amount of credits or whatever. So he's just kind of eking by this existence because he's been reduced in rank, and therefore he essentially has no future at this point. But apparently Darren Vex sees something in him that he makes him an offer like, hey, okay, I will take you into my family, and we'll pair you off with my daughter. And maybe because he figures, well, okay, regardless of his ranking, that at least maybe Seg-El comes from good genetic stock, and is willing to, like, okay, maybe physically he's worthy of producing my grandson or what have you.
And it seems like they have everything plotted out. So maybe he sees that, this is going to be a great this is going to be a line of great scientific men and stuff.
So what do you think that Darren Vex is doing by trying to bring Seg into the fold? Or too early to tell?
Yeah, he wants something, or he sees something in Seg that he thinks, like I said, he's going to be like one of the great minds of Krypton or something.
Right.
That he can exploit.
Yeah. Now, while he's, on his way back to Kim, his best friend Kim's bar, he gets stopped by Adam Strange. And Adam tells him that he's traveled through time to warn Seg that somebody from the future is coming to destroy Krypton. And then he starts doubling over in pain. which I'm not sure about. Like, was he injured maybe and is just desperate to get back? Or is this something because of the timeline being affected? Is that what's affecting him physically?
Well, again, too, we don't know what's throwing him through time. If it is like Zeta beam technology or something, maybe, yeah.
Right. So we're not sure yet. Obviously, it's just the pilot, so we're still early days here. He warns Seg that he has to find the fortress. He has to save Superman. And Adam Strange gives Seg this crystal, which, hey, looks a lot like Superman's fortress crystal in Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
So it has the House of L emblem on it, the S that stands for hope, and we're kind of off and running here. Seg returns home, shows the vial, or shows it to his parents, and they're just like, you don't really want any part of this. And then Seg goes off, and kind of wondering what they're holding back. So, Seg ends up getting confronted later by his mom after, I guess, Seg's being, I forget what happens that causes him, does he go on the run for something? Do you remember? Like, there were some armed forces going after him, and after leaving Lyta's place. Anyway, his mom picks him up in this really cool cruiser. They go off. She apparently knows where the fortress is. And Seg's got the key, so they go inside, and we get introduced to the fortress set. And it's pretty cool. It's got this really big gate. Mm-hmm. This big kind of like massive sewer tunnel kind of gate to it. And it opens up, and we find that apparently this was Val-El's fortress, and where, there's probably all kinds of secrets inside there that hopefully Seg is going to unlock at some point. So what did you think of the fortress?
You could tell that, inspiration for Kal-El's fortress on Earth eventually, just from the name, and you got the giant statues holding the planet up of it,
Right.
Yeah, you could see they were like, yeah, wink, see, Fortress of Solitude, see.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. So I guess Dev M, who's another character here that if you're a Legion of Superhero fan, you know Dev M, and he essentially leading the military. They take Seg's mother Charisse into custody, and Jaina is there, and Jaina starts interrogating them, her and Charisse and his father, Terrell, and essentially that they have a trial, and Charisse ends up like going in this big outburst where she tells like the people of Kandor that they're not alone, and Seg tries to protect his mom, and I guess Seg's father, Terrell, tries to shoot Darren Vex. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Jaina shoots both of his parents. So essentially, Seg gets the Bruce Wayne treatment where, my parents are dead. And that obviously creates some friction because, hey, Jaina is the mom of Lyta, who he just happens to be having this kind of Romeo and Juliet romance on the side. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that?
Well, it just popped into my head when you said he got the Bruce Wayne treatment. Yeah. Could we see Seg eventually become Nightwing?
That's possible. I'm kind of hoping we'll see Nightwing and Flamebird at least in some form on the show. Now, whether it's the traditional Nightwing and Flamebird from the comics, or if somebody like Seg takes the role, it'd be kind of interesting, I think.
And his girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if Lyta becomes Flamebird, that would be kind of interesting. Ooh, I like that idea. I like that theory. I'm going to keep that in mind. That's a good theory.
I hope.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, make that happen. That'd be cool. I know Jesse is a big Nightwing and Flamebird fan, so from the comics. So yeah, So we have Elida trying to comfort Seg, but obviously it's just like, I'm not really feeling this right now. Your mom killed my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
So understandably, he goes off. I guess Adam Strange confronts him again, shows him Superman's cape, which you don't step on. And you never step on Superman's cape. The cape, it turns out, is slowly erasing from the bottom up. And now the cape has essentially become this hourglass, sort of timey-wimey hourglass that creates a ticking clock. So like, hey, we have to prevent this from happening before the cape runs out or all is lost. So what do you think of this kind of ticking clock Superman cape?
Very Back to the Future.
Yeah, exactly. You would think it would just start fading from existence, like in Back to the Future, but this time apparently it just kind of erases, like you're hitting the delete button slowly.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and meanwhile Superman's somewhere like, wait, where's my cape?
Yeah. Yeah, Superman sucks off somewhere going, who stole my cape?
Adam Strange.
Yeah, shakes fist.
Well, one of my co-hosts was saying, maybe they used Adam Strange, hoping that like people who don't know much are like, is this connected to Doctor Strange?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be kind of curious that like there might be some confusion there, but so Adam Strange warns Seg about the Collector of Worlds, who we know as, of course, Brainiac. And I'm really looking forward to Brainiac because the little teasing things we saw in the commercials looks like they were finally going to get a proper Brainiac.
Yes.
We've been wanting Brainiac forever in the Superman movies. Never got him. Almost did. Never did. We've had him on the TV shows, but we've kind of let down over and over. Now it looks like we're finally going to get a proper Brainiac, and I'm pretty geeked about it.
Looks like he's going to look the part, yeah.
Yeah, definitely influenced by the Jeff Johns version because, well, hey, Jeff Johns is a executive producer on this series, so no surprise there. But it looks really faithful to Gary Frank's designs.
Yeah.
So I'm really geeked about that. So are you jazzed about Brainiac?
Oh yeah, that's one of the things I'm like, oh yeah, that's DC Comics right there. Yeah,
and that's a great big bad for this season, for season 1.
Mm-hmm.
A natural fit because, so I'm hoping it won't be too long before, hey, Kandor gets kind of picked up and stuffed into a bottle.
Yes.
I'm thinking that's coming, which should upset some apple carts, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, there's definitely big potential there, and I'm kind of curious to see how Seg, who doesn't have powers, is going to deal with Brainiac, because Brainiac's normally a threat for Superman, and he has powers.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see how they're going to figure out how to stop Brainiac without them.
That's what I'm wondering, if it's just going to be like a lot of like technological, has to invent all these gadgets and stuff.
Or it's like, maybe at some point they'll go to a system that has a yellow sun, and maybe we'll get to see Seg with some superpowers for a little while.
Yes.
That would be interesting, I think.
Or they just have like the yellow sun tanning beds where they can get powers for like an hour or something.
He'll get a wristband or something.
Yeah.
Some way around it, but that'd be interesting. So yeah, he hits the tanning bed and he comes out. He comes out all orange. So that would be funny. So the threat of Brainiac. So anything else about the show before we move on?
No, I don't think so. I'm curious to see where they go, because like I said, it's only been one episode. So
no, I thought the series. It seemed like this series was kind of rushing a little bit for me. They just was throwing a bunch at you. I thought this would have worked better as a 2-hour pilot, but they only did an hour pilot, and I think it would have worked better as 2, personally. But I like.
Do you know how many episodes they're getting this season?
I think they're doing 10.
Okay, maybe that's why it's rushing a little bit.
That's what I'm thinking too, but probably because of the budget. Because that's one thing we should talk about. The production values on this loop were amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It seemed like it was in that same Krypton from the Man of Steel movie. So
they obviously spent a couple of bucks on this. So cheers to Syfy for putting up some money. So hopefully it does well in the ratings to pay that off and justify it. But it looks great. So so hopefully it finds its audience. So we'll see. I think it did okay in the ratings for the first episode. I think it did pretty well. I don't think it was great ratings, but because there was basketball going on at the same time.
Plus, it was on at like 10 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, 10 o'clock. So probably for 10 o'clock hour, it probably did really well for cable. So we'll see. All right, so what's your rating for this?
I think I should give this 8 hidden fortresses.
Okay, that's good. I think this show has a lot of potential. We'll see where it goes. So obviously we've got 9 more episodes this season. I give it 8.5 out of 10 slowly erasing Superman capes.
Nice.
So we'll see where it goes. All right, final show for the week. Gotham 415, The Sinking Ship, The Grand Applause, written by Seth Boston, directed by Nick Copus. And this episode was pretty much your typical insane Gotham episode.
Yes. Yeah. Bullets flying, bodies hitting the floor, yes.
Yeah, the bodies hit the floor. The bodies hit the floor. So we start off with the return of Martine, the character that nobody wanted to see ever again. At least I didn't. Who's that young boy that Penguin took a shine to, was thought to have killed, but hey, of course he wasn't dead. He's being held by Sophia Falcone's goon squad until Martine gets some instructions to kind of turn on the gas in the kitchen and kind of sit in the living room and plug his ears. And, of course, we get a nice big gas boom, which takes out the hired goons. In comes the Riddler and says, "Come with me if you want to live." No, that was something else. He says, "Uncle Penguin sent me to get you," which I thought was a great opening scene.
Yes.
I like that a lot. And Corey Michael Smith, who plays the Riddler, was so good in this episode.
Oh yeah, I mean he's good in most episodes. He's one of my favorites. Yeah, he really.
Yeah, he's just such a good Riddler, and I'm really glad that he finally has his intelligence back.
Yes.
That the Riddler personality is taken over again, because that's when he's the most interesting to me.
Oh yeah.
So I was kind of like ready for that whole like dumb Riddler story to be over with. All right, and we had in the Narrows that guy Samson, who basically took over Lee Tompkins, being the leader of the Narrows people, was bullying people, killed a father in front of his wife and son to prove a point, which obviously means like screams, "Hey, this is a bad guy. We don't like him." Just a little bit. We had Jim plotting with Harvey about how to take down Sophia. And Harvey seems to be back now. He took his badge back, which was a big step. And are you glad to see Harvey back with the GCPD?
I am glad to see Harvey back, but it just seems like there's a few themes that like seem to reoccur almost every season, and this is one of them where Jim and Harvey kind of have their friction,
right?
For at least a couple episodes every season.
They butt heads, and then then they're okay for a while, and then they butt heads again. Yeah, it does seem like this never-ending cycle with these two. But I think now, because I think Harvey's expressed some kind of resentment that Jim is the captain. Because I think Harvey seems like he kind of liked the gig after taking it over reluctantly.
After he protested too much. Oh, no, I'm not the man in charge.
Yeah, exactly. And so we'll see where that goes. But we had Selena rummaging through the kitchen of Wayne Manor looking for a sandwich. And surprisingly, the kitchen's pretty empty now that Alfred's not there. Or, well, no, he's back. I forgot that. Yeah, he's back. Maybe he hasn't gone shopping yet. She asked Bruce for help because she wants to give back the things she stole from the Charles family. No relation. And before Ivy killed their father. And Bruce agreed to give her some money so that she could buy back what she stole and return it to the family. And I'm liking I really enjoy the scenes with David Mazouz's Bruce and Cameron Bikondova's Selena. I think they play off each other really well. And now that now that they're older, I'm really liking their chemistry more and more.
Oh yeah. And, now that he's had his growth spurt and they're both older, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how much height he's put on.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, now I could kind of see where he might become Batman.
That's what I said. You can have Batman in this season. Just put him in the gym. Yeah.
He just needs to work out a little bit, buff up a little bit, but he's definitely got the height now. I think, to pull off the character a little realistically. I think he's taller than Alfred now, if I'm not mistaken, or pretty close.
He's taller than a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty close. But we'll see. So, all right, what do we have here? Bullock goes to meet this old woman by the name of the Skinner, who we find out apparently used to skin people, which is like, okay. And to get some info on Falcone's spies in the city. And she leads him toward Mr. Penn, who they've been looking for. We have Sophia, I guess Victor Zsasz shows up. So we get more of Mr. Zsasz, which was cool. Like to see him in this. I think I love seeing Victor Zsasz in this. He's always a fun character. Let's see, we have Harvey going to the Arkham Asylum to find Oswald getting punched. And people start screaming in the hallway. And apparently this turns out to be a whole big distraction so that Oswald can stage a jailbreak and drive off with the Riddler.
Yes.
So they seem to be working together again. And what do you think of Edward Nygma and the Penguin back together?
I like them as a team. I think those two actors and the two characters work so well together.
Yeah.
Bring out the strengths in each other. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like the fact of the scene where Edward's just like trying to convince the Penguin that like, hey, okay, we'll get Mr. Freeze to freeze you, and then we'll turn you over to Sophia as like a Trojan horse. Mm. And Penguin's kind of looking at him like going, wait, what? Like, and I'm sure in the back of his mind, Riddler's like, yeah, see how you like it.
Yeah, they did. I mean, there was a lot in this episode. Everything we already mentioned. We did get Victor Freeze in it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of characters in this. Yeah, Mr. Freeze shows up wanting basically like what do you say, $100,000 or whatever it was, $800,000, I forget. Something. Yeah, for delivering Oswald to Sophia, and Sophia's just like, oh, pay the guy. And so I thought that was good. I guess this was like timed so that the ice cracks. Penguin bursts through the ice, and first he goes after this dentist who was torturing the Riddler, and because he wouldn't give Penguin up, and the Riddler, it turns out, was taken to the docks. So we go back to the docks that we've seen over and over again.
Since episode 1, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so that ultimately leads to the Penguin saving the Riddler from the hired goons and rescuing him. And I like that little exchange they have where Riddler looks at Penguin and says, like, I have this like extreme strong feeling that I never ever want to see this dock again. And Penguin's just like, yep, pretty much.
Now, you're a writer. Is that like some kind of metaphor they keep making about like a lot of Penguin's big moments have him either diving into or throwing people into the water?
Well, yeah, it was a big thing, because remember that whole scene where after like Penguin had expressed his feelings for Ed, and then Ed's just like, sorry, I'm straight, dude. Not really feeling that, and then like attempts to kill Penguin.
Yeah.
So, and this was after, of course, the pilot, where he was thought and left for dead. So, yeah, I'm sure Penguin's more than ready to be rid of it, too. But obviously it still has some bad memories, I think, for the Riddler as well.
And I don't think it was the same spot, but I mean, he kind of threw Fish Mooney in the river.
Yeah, that's true.
Off the roof, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't think it was the same part, but yeah, it was that whole pier area. So we had that, and but they apparently seem to be trusting each other again. So we'll see where that goes. But for right now, they're back together again. Let's see what else in this episode. We had Stabby Babs, Barbara. She's at the Sirens Club with serious migraine action going on. And as it turns out, I mean, she's snapping at everybody. But as it turns out, her headache keeps getting worse and worse. Then all of a sudden, her right hand starts to glow. The very same hand that Ra's al Ghul touched. And we actually see Alexander Siddig back as Ra's al Ghul as he walks through the club. I don't know, presumably Barbara is hallucinating this.
Mm-hmm.
But he's coming toward her, and then her hand's glowing. So obviously, presumably this is going to lead to Raish's resurrection at some point.
Are we gonna give Barbara some kind of superpowers?
I don't know. Or is Raish going to essentially like be in Barbara's body? I don't know how this is going to play out.
Ooh, that.
What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. Ra's al Ghul is like in the body of Jim Gordon's ex. That's not going to be awkward.
No, not at all. Let's see here. We had. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anything else. Obviously the big confrontation between Gordon and Sophia, where I guess there's a shootout in the kitchen. I guess after he had been shot in the stomach once, so he's like stumbling through the kitchen, and he's got an empty clip. Well, he's killing dudes that are trying to kill him or whatever. Fires back at Sophia. Just as Sophia's approaching him, though, his gun goes click, click, click. It's empty. So she plugs him like 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
Bam, bam, bam. So he's got like 4 gunshot wounds.
So I'm saying, like, by the time the present day rolls around, he's going to have as many scars as, like, Batman.
Yeah, seriously. He's going to like not be able to move because of all that scar tissue. He's going to be this hunched over ball. Sophia's confronting him, says, James Gordon, this is where our story ends. And she's getting ready to finish him off when all of a sudden a gun fires, but not at Jim, because as it turns out, Lee shoots Sophia in the back. Shoot him in the back. And then Sophia takes one right between the eyes, puts her down. So Lee kills Sophia for Jim to save his life, which is kind of interesting to me. Because remember, Jim and Lee have been kind of on the outs since Jim killed Mario Falcone.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think of that move?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that was completely intentional by the writers. The irony, just be like, nice.
Well, then she seems to work to try to save his life because she's the only one there with any medical training. He's there bleeding out with 4 gunshot wounds.
Well, I mean,
she could have left him to die.
On some level, she still cares, but I mean, now maybe she sees kind of where Jim was coming from when he killed Mario.
Yeah, maybe that'll go a long way to kind of bringing those 2 characters back together. Hopefully,
yeah, get her out of that Hot Topic wardrobe.
Yeah, well, all that super straightener wig that she's wearing. Yeah, we'll see. She's never been the same since she started dating Deadpool. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man.
But sorry, if you're Marina Baccarin, if you're familiar with the actress, you get that joke.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Anything else? Let's see. So after making sure Jim's taken care of by medics, she disappears. Turns out Sophia's in a coma. She's not dead. So not dead yet. I'm hoping that she'll end up like in a big neck brace like she is in Batman The Long Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Sophia Giganti Falcone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm hoping they go that route. I think that'd be kind of cool to see her like that.
Well, didn't they say it's? I don't know if is it next season. This season, they said they're going to be like working on. They're going to adapt a Long Halloween in No Man's Land.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, the end of this season is called No Man's Land. I think this season was supposed to loosely adapt the Long Halloween, but maybe next season will be No Man's Land if we get next season.
Yeah,
this could end on a cliffhanger, and we'd be kind of literally left hanging. Because if the show doesn't get picked up, because the show's ratings have not been great, so we'll see. And it is a pretty pricey show.
Yeah, I think the move to Thursdays might have hurt them.
I think so too, especially with nothing really paired with it.
Yeah.
I think it was much better with Lucifer.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I think you're right. It wouldn't surprise me if Gotham ends up on Friday nights if they bring it back.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we'll see. But it wouldn't surprise me. So Lee ends up going off back to the Narrows, gets a hold of Samson, and smashes the crap out of his hand, like Sophia smashed her hand, and a little payback there. So she essentially, for all we know, takes the Narrows back over, and we had that little cliffhanger with Barbara at the end. So that was pretty much it, unless I'm forgetting something.
No, I think that's it. Because we did do the Barbara stuff, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, what was your rating for this one?
Like we said, there's a lot of stuff packed into this. It was pretty good. I'll probably give it 8.5 smashed hands, because that is like a big theme in this show. Like over the seasons, or this, people either getting their hands smashed or chopped off, or.
Yeah, it is. Oh, and one thing we did forget was Riddler goes looking for Grundy, thinking he's still stupid Grundy, but as we know, Butch is back. Mm-hmm. And I like the Riddler in this, where he goes down and is like, hey, I'm smart again. And Grundy, big, pale, and stupid, that's my boy. And then all of a sudden, Grundy comes by and it's like, well, hey, I'm not stupid anymore, just like you, and proceeds to bash his head into the wall.
Yes.
Which is presumably where he got captured. So I thought that was pretty funny. Although I do want to see Grundy back, because I prefer him as Grundy. Mm-hmm. Now that he is Grundy, I want him to be Grundy.
Yes.
I can understand the actor wanting to be more than that, but I want to see him as Grundy. I give this one 8.5 out of 10 frozen penguins.
Yes.
Or penguins on ice. Take your pick. All right, so that's pretty much our shows for the week. We did get some feedback from Justina. So we're going to have that attached later, so we're not going to play it now. So, Rob, I'm going to leave a nice space for you to play Justina's feedback here.
Hi, Karen and Charles. Another super week of Super TV. Here we go. Guys, they sunk my ship. They sunk the Avalanche ship. It makes perfect sense, though. It really does. Sarah, under the influence of malice, took her team down one by one, so it totally makes sense that she wouldn't feel worthy of anything good and beautiful like Ava. I was so worried about being scared of this episode, and I turned out being heartbroken instead. I still continue to love being rewarded for watching all the Berlantiverse shows and getting these little tidbits about our characters, like the nightmare that Sarah had about her time working for Ra's al Ghul in the League of Assassins. It was a sad memory and hard to watch, but it was a good piece of Sarah character development to show us some of the weight that she carries in her mind from her time as an assassin. And it makes perfect sense that the death totem would affect her greatly, because our dear Sarah was dead for a long time before Laurel put her in the Lazarus pit. And Sarah broke Mick's gun. But that's not a problem, because now Mick can wield the fire totem. That is super cool. This episode gets 9 out of 10 love letters that are so sad because of the moment of which they are found. Gotham this week was all about forgiveness. Harvey has to forgive himself for the things that he's done. Jim has to forgive himself for covering up things for Sophia because the city of Gotham needs him. Selena went to Bruce for help and money because she feels bad for what she did to that family. And Bruce, having just gotten some forgiveness from Alfred. Gave her the advice that sorry doesn't fix everything, but it's always a good place to start. Lee clearly forgives Jim because she didn't allow him to die in this episode, and Oswald and Ed return to the pier in which Ed pushed Oswald off in an attempt to murder him, but now they've found a place of forgiveness because Oswald rushed to Ed's aid to save him. So I think we'll see a team up here as the episodes go on. And I'll forgive Gotham for all those violent, scary moments that were hard to watch because the character moments were so good. Scoring 9 out of 10, Barbara is shining with the light of whatever it is that Ra's al Ghul gave her. I'm catching up on S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm really, really loving this arc. I think the key for me loving Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is to have Fitz and Simmons in it, because at the beginning of the arc, when Fitz was separated from the group, I was having trouble connecting to the show and staying interested. But ever since Fitz was back involved, I'm enjoying it better. And now we know that Deke is related to Fitzsimmons, which is super cool. I loved the 100th episode with the Fitzsimmons wedding, and the way they integrated every title card from every season in the opening, and found a clever way to integrate all the old bad guys as well. Krypton. Oh my god, Krypton was awesome. It only took 20 minutes of the episode for me to decide that I'm going to keep this show. And the guy from the future is wearing my home team baseball hat, the Detroit Tigers. Super cool. I score Krypton 9 out of 10 keys from a future man. Is there comic books about Val-El and Sag-El? Or is this story being written exclusively for television and has never been a comic book? Have a super week.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you. Wasn't that the best feedback ever?
Yes.
But Justina, I did listen to your feedback. So one of the things some things she brought up, Legends of Tomorrow, she was heartbroken over Sarah. Mm-hmm. And the way that fallout with Ava, that was pretty heartbreaking. Because, Sarah's apparently really into wanting this relationship now that after banging Constantine, and is pretty committed, but then has to give it up. So we'll see where that goes. Gotham, she mentioned that that whole episode that we just discussed was about forgiveness. There's a lot of forgiveness going on. Gordon wanting Bullock to forgive him, and Edward and the Penguin trying to forgive each other, I think, and Lee forgiving Jim a little bit, I think. So, and some other things. So, yeah, I agree with that. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. we didn't talk about, but she's enjoying that as well. She's especially enjoying it now that Fitz is back with the group, and I think it's gotten better. She loved the Fitzsimmons wedding. So, what did you think of that wedding?
I think it's been a long time coming since the way they've been messing with that couple the whole time. But right. I'm just like, long
overdue.
When did Coulson get ordained?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Well, maybe he sent off and got a course, just like Martin Stein did on Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, unless he did it back in the day before Iron Man 1, who knows?
Remember, no, it was on Martin Stein in The Flash, because didn't he marry Caitlin and Ronnie Raymond?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Krypton, she loved. She said it only took her 20 minutes to really decide that she's totally in for the show. And she loves the fact that Adam Strange is a Detroit Tigers fan, which I am not a fan of because I'm a Cleveland Indians fan. So a little American League rivalry going on here. But Detroit Tigers, for those who don't know, Jeff Johns, again, one of the executive producers on Krypton, is a Detroit Tigers fan, hardcore Tigers, because he's from Michigan. I'm from Ohio, natural rivalries, if you know anything about sports. And so it was natural they decided to do that little nod for him, I think. And she does wonder about the comic, if there are like some comic book stories with Val-El and Sag-El. So, Justina, what I would recommend is tracking down the John Byrne miniseries, World of Krypton. It's only 4 issues. It came out in 1988. And there's you can find that on Comixology.
And like a week or so ago, they were even like giving away like a reprint of the first issue, and like I know my comics shop had it.
Yeah, so if you have those comics, that's what I would recommend. But there hasn't really been like much with like apart from that with Val-El or Seg-El. So we just had little nods here and there. Seg, as we know, we learned, I think it was in Starman series, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He grows up to be as an older man. He becomes very like bitter and crusty. So kind of a curmudgeon. So I don't know if we'll get to see that on Krypton, but we don't really know that much about either of those two characters that much. So there's plenty of playground for the writers on Krypton to explore, in my opinion. So Justina, thanks for the feedback. And in the meantime, if you'd like to be like Justina, drop us a line here in the Fandom Zone. You can drop us a line here at Fandom Zone Cast on the Twitter machine or on Facebook, Fandom Zone Podcast. We'd love to hear from you, and thanks for everybody who's liked us and follow us there. Please leave us a review on iTunes because that helps people find our little show, if you're so inclined. Let us know what you think. And or if you just want to drop us a line and let us know that, hey, you're desperately wanting Karen to be back because we obviously miss her.
Yes.
And so hopefully that will be soon, hopefully next week. And other than that, Phil, where can they reach you on the interwebs?
If you want to get a hold of me, you can email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am at nightwingpdp. And make sure to check out the Capes and Lunatics podcast. We also have a second podcast, the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks. You can find everything for both of those podcasts on our YouTube page, where if you subscribe to that, this Saturday night coming up live, we're going to review the Ready Player One movie.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So did you get like advanced? Oh, now the movie comes out Saturday. You're actually going to sit in a theater and record that? Live?
No. We're gonna watch. We're going to watch it this weekend. Then we're gonna record afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Then you're gonna review it afterward. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the way it was live, I was wondering, like, are you gonna like sit in a theater and record this?
No, you can watch us record the podcast live. Yeah. No.
Okay, that's good. All right. Yeah, definitely check that out. And I'm definitely looking forward to Ready Player One. I'm gonna hopefully see that this weekend as well, this coming weekend, because I think it's gonna be awesome. I'm reading the book right now. I'm about 50 pages from finishing it.
Yeah,
so I'm hoping to have it.
We just reviewed the book. Yeah,
okay,
that's
cool.
The first time I read it. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to have it finished by this weekend. As for me, please check out Phil's podcast, everybody. He's doing us a solid. Please do him a solid in return. Help him out and check out the Capes and Lunatics podcasts. They're great. As for me, at Charles Skaggs on the Twitter machine, at Charles Skaggs on the Instagram. Google Plus for all you crazy kids in the Google Plus.
That's for you, Karen.
That's for you, Karen. Shout out for you. Hope you're listening. And Facebook, of course, at Charles Skaggs. And my blog at Geeky Things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. Where I talk about all the shows that we talk about here on the Fandom Zone podcast and more. All kinds of comic book, sci-fi news, casting news, trailer goodness, all kinds of news about all the comic book shows and sci-fi shows. The other podcast they do for Southgate Media Group, Titan Talk, the Titans podcast they do with friend of the show, Jesse Jackson, who I thought was going to make an appearance today, but he stiffed us. Jackson shakes fist. No, it's okay. He helped us out last week, if you remember. Then Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast they do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic book artist Chris Sprouse, where I talk about all things Twin Peaks and more, David Lynch related. And then Ghostwood, Next Up Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. What am I forgetting? That I also do with Jesse, where we talk about all things Doctor Who, and just like Constantine. There's that nice little connection here. So after you've watched Legends of Tomorrow and you get in a little timey-wimey fix, watch some Doctor Who and then listen to Next Up Everywhere. We definitely appreciate that. So Other than that, I think that about does it. Phil, thank you so much for helping us out, as always.
Oh, thank you. I
love
being here.
We always love having you on the podcast. One of these days, you're going to have to let me on one of your podcasts, because
sure,
you're always on our podcast. I never get to come to yours.
Get a hold of me. If there's something strikes you, say, hey, I want to talk whatever this week. Hey, you're more than welcome. Yeah, door's open.
I feel like I should, return the favor. You've been so kind to help us out. So if you ever need me to help out, I guess, pinch hit.
Oh, all right. I'll keep that in mind, yeah.
If you need a break to go actually sleep once in a while, because you have so many podcasts going on, and you're always tweeting, and you're a busy guy. Reading comics, watching shows.
Yeah, but maybe one week we'll just have to sit down and talk either comics or the Flash show or...
Yeah, whatever you think I would be good to fill in on. Let me know. Yeah, I'd love to do it. So everybody, thank you for listening to the Fandom Zone Podcast. Karen, obviously our thoughts are with you. We miss you. And hopefully you'll be back with us next week. If not, we'll figure something out. And we'll see you next time right here on the Fandom Zone Podcast. Bye, everybody.